Hi, friends. Joe Mull here. As we conceived of and started mapping out our Boss Better Now podcast, my co-host Alyssa and I met a few times to do podcast walkthroughs, essentially rehearsals for the podcast episodes we would be recording and that launch beginning in January. The clip I'm about to play for you is from one of those rehearsals. I know there's a little echo on Alyssa's microphone. We got that fixed. But this conversation was really special, and I wanted to share it with you as a preview of what you can expect from the podcast going forward. I hope you enjoy it. We talked about maybe having an occasional segment on parenting parallels, right? You and I have had a lot of conversations about how the experiences we have as parents, some of the conversations we have with our kids, the interactions we have with our kids are very similar in some fun ways and in some serious ways to the kinds of interactions and conversations we need to have as leaders. Are there any particular stories that you have experienced recently that might be worth bringing to the podcast?
I got a doozy, but might be a little too raw yet. I don't know. I'll try it out and see. So have you ever witnessed or been the cause of breaking your own kid's heart?
Oh, no.
We had to have a very tough conversation with him 2 nights ago about him not being able to play with the kids down the street any longer. And that was rough because we've made the determination that based upon mine and my husband's high risk for COVID and what that would mean to our family, meaning we have no safety net here. It is just my husband and I. And the fact that the kids' parents, the adults involved in this situation, do not follow the same practices that we do, that we think are imperative to our safety.
How do you take it?
I physically felt his little heart breaking with the tears, but Mama, this is the only time I get to see kids my own age because he goes to remote school. I know, Bubba, I know. And I don't want to take it away, but I want to keep you safe more than I want to make you happy. And that's the bottom line. That's what I have to hold on to is I gotta do what we believe is the safest thing to do. And that means sacrificing happiness at some level for him right now. It also stoked that whole fire of wanting to burn the entire world down because it made me think about if I have to break my own kid's heart, then I sure as heck can have the courage to have a difficult conversation with a fellow adult about that same thing.
Even when it's uncomfortable.
Even when it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Now, my husband and I have some different views on the exact verbiage that we could use with said adults. and I agree, I need to step away from the matches because we still have to live here.
Oh, so he's reining you in a little bit.
Surprisingly, yes.
Okay.
He's like, unless you want to move, we need to take a step back.
So many lessons here. This idea of, first of all, the balance between honesty and preserving relationships, right? Or at the very least, regulating our emotional response to things in an effort to preserve civility, right? I think that's something that a lot of leaders struggle with. I'm especially wanting to point to something you said a few minutes ago, which I think that everyone listening to our show would agree with and would say that they try to do, but that we all struggle with a lot, which is how to acknowledge that there are times when we need to prioritize something over a person's happiness, right? And I so appreciate how explicit you were with your son by saying, right now, we have to prioritize our safety over our happiness. Did I get that right? Is that you used language like that with him?
Yep.
You know, and I think that there are a lot of bosses who make a lot of decisions, who, whether it's in terms of everything from strategy to policy to schedules to promotions and whatnot, that will result in people being unhappy, but there is a greater good or a greater need that in the long run will better benefit that employee, right?
Yeah.
Being able to make a decision that says, I know you don't agree with this, but I'm going to ask you to commit anyway. I know that this is not in service to what you want, or it doesn't bring you happiness. And I think that one of the important takeaways here for anybody listening is how important it is to be explicit about that, right? We have our reasons for making a decision, making a choice that will result in people not agreeing with it or not being happy about it. Do we take the time to sit across from that person and say, listen, I do care about your happiness. I do care about your fulfillment. I do care about your career. I do care about the experience of what it's like to work here. And I 100% get that this decision or this new policy or this outcome is going to not go in the direction that you want it to. But here's the reason why we've made the decision. And agree or disagree, I at least want you to know why. And I want you to know that I'm always going to sit across from you and try to be as honest as possible, and that you'll never question where you stand or why something is happening.
That's a amazing parallel, and it makes me even more confident now in hearing you say it back. I'm like, yeah, okay. There's reasons and rationale behind all of that emotion that I'm feeling, in the moment, and even residually. We can be brave and do hard things. As my favorite author, Glennon Doyle, says, we can do hard things. And so...
And my good friend, Deborah Gilboa, Dr. G, a lot of folks know her for a lot of the work that she has done on parenting. She's been on Good Morning America and Rachel Ray, and she speaks really incredibly about resilience in the workplace. And she makes the point over and over again, I am not my child's friend. It is not my job to make my child happy. She will tell you over and over again is that her job is to prepare her kids to be adults who know how to move through the world and know how to do it, as well balanced, psychologically prepared human beings, right? And in the earliest stages of childhood, our priority is safety, right?
Yeah.
And we can even take those core values and principles of parenthood and tell ourselves that we're going to adopt them as bosses, right? That above everything else is the care, feeding, and safety of my personnel. And then from there, it's how do I prepare them to be well-balanced, psychologically confident and supported people when they're out there doing the work in the environment we've hired them to work in.
Oh, heck yeah. Another high five. That's glorious, juicy stuff right there.
And hat tip to Dr. G, because so much of that language comes from what I've learned from her. So we'll tag her in this episode and make sure that she gets a shout out from our audience as well.
Excellent.